just introduce yourself to the...
How you doing, guys? I'm Brian Hyslop, and I am the coach, and I've opened up this Fortified Future gym in the East End of Glasgow.
What does it mean to be fortified?
To be fortified, you have to be faithful, principled, you have to be able to conquer your vices and strengthen your virtues, and that's something that I try and teach to the kids in here, along with the martial arts training. Being fortified is the philosophy that I've got in my own life. I also teach men about it as well, but this is a good starter, getting them in when they're young.
Do you think that that's important to install into a young age, that sort of discipline mentality?
I think if you get someone young and give them those philosophies at an early age, especially before their teenage years, then they might understand the negative aspects of culture and stuff like that, especially in Scotland, like alcohol abuse, drug abuse, maybe get involved in gang culture and stuff like that. And martial arts is a great vehicle for them to disengage from all that kind of stuff. It's a great medium for it.
Is there a relationship with martial arts and the whole relationship with violence in the culture of Glasgow that you think maybe martial arts gets a fair kind of name because it's such a no dangerous sport, but there's kind of violence involved with it?
Really good question. Very good question. So, if you don't understand martial arts, you'll see the violence and you'll think that that is a part of the violent culture that would happen outside, when it's the total opposite. So, what people have is an ego.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got an ego outside, you will try and test that ego when you're confronted in an altercation in the street or whatever. If someone challenges you, your ego's going to make you challenge them back. But in martial arts, in boxing, in competitive sports in general, your ego gets tested every single day. So I say to the kids in here, leave your egos outside before you come and train, because if you test your egos every single day, multiple times a session, you don't want to go and challenge someone outside. You've already fulfilled that in a gym, you know.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that they can channel their sort of insecurities and find that inner self-confidence through the kind of channel of martial arts?
I think so. Competition.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on and win a competition or you do great in a competition, well, your self-esteem is going to rise up. Your self-belief is going to rise up as well. And even the things that I do in here, like I've got small competitions that we do, like for instance, there's King of the Mat.
Mm-hmm.
I get all the kids to line up. One of the guys stays in the middle and it's who is the best wrestler of the night. And we've got 4-year-old boys doing that and
Mm-hmm.
15-year-old guys doing that as well. So that ego check that they're getting every single day is going to be a massive benefit from outside.
Mm-hmm. See, in the sort of growing culture, this winning mentality, is everybody's a winner. Would it be fair to say that you don't adopt that sort of mentality? You think, obviously, like you said, humble and it's a discipline, but how important is it to install that there's always going to be the number one spot?
So
to be a winner?
Everybody gets a medal even for participating.
Mm-hmm. Aye, that sort of thing. What's your thoughts on that?
No, you need to see the value of winning something, I think. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be like a life or death situation or the be all and end all if you win, lose or draw, you know what I mean? It's like the taking part is as important as winning a medal. But at the end of the day, if you do strive to win something in a competition, it's going to make you feel better about yourself eventually, and you can maybe face other challenges in life after doing that with yourself. So if everybody gets a medal for participating, it kind of takes that out of it.
Mm-hmm. So dealing with that adversity, maybe losing and coming back and winning, it just makes it so much more important to you, doesn't it?
I think so. I think so. Now, I've won a lot of fights, I've lost a few fights. I think even the stepping into a competition it's an adversity in itself, because a lot of people, for instance, they'll train and whatever, but they're scared because their ego, again, they're scared to go in and get beat, and they're scared to go in and get beat in front of their friends and family. Now, if you can go in and just compete and challenge that anyway, you're already a winner in my eyes. But for kids, it is good to see them rising up and being the number one in their sport or whatever it is. It's something that's ingrained in humans. You have to find a challenge, and that challenge of being the number one in that day or whatever in that competition, it's really good for kids.
In your life, was there a lot of maybe self-taught lessons the hard way? Whereas if you could prevent that with kids, is that your sort of, no end goal, but is that a thing that you incorporate into the Fortified Future?
Yes, 100%. So when I was aligned with boxing or martial arts, my life always followed a good path. And then, unfortunately, my life, when I disengaged from that and I didn't have that base, I didn't follow that base, I did get involved in the wrong stuff. And I'm not scared to admit that. And I actually come from an experience as well now that I can teach people like that. I can teach young kids about that. So I've got a thing in here that I don't just teach kids the techniques of martial arts and how to get fit and how to get strong, how to wrestle, how to box. I also teach them about life in a sense as well, especially kids at like 12, 13, 14. I'm kind of saying to them, don't go out at the weekend, don't make sure you're not taking drinking drugs, make sure you're not overdoing like fighting outside. Do you know what I mean? That's the small weekend of lessons that hopefully I can teach them is going to impact them in a good way.
Do you think in this sort of space, do you think you can install a sense of emotional intelligence, emotional maturity into them through the channel of martial arts?
I think it's a great vehicle for it, yeah. I think it is. If they know how to build their bodies, build their mentality, have a community as well, because people think martial arts is like a single person sport. It's not, it's a team sport. If some of them go to competitions together, they're all going to be as part of a team. That's a really good thing, and it's a thing that people don't really notice as well. But there's camaraderie in here, there's a team in here. We've only been running for 2 months, and there's been kids that have come in the first day, like so, like you can tell they've got no confidence. Even if everybody that comes in, you can see they've got no confidence. But after a few weeks, they're all jumping each other, high fiving. We've got a room in there, they all play the PlayStation together. But that's building like actual emotional intelligence as well, because they're seeing the benefits of being round about other people that are on the same kind of path as them. They want to do good in life, want to do good in martial arts training and life outside as well.
That's quite an interesting point, because I suppose there's a lot of kind of importance gets put on mature role models, but seeing kids at your own age being, in a sense, role models, is that important as well, do you think?
Yeah, so a good example of that is my son is 4, he's been wrestling since he's 3. And there's an older kid that he loves, and the boy's about 12. And the boy actually wins tournaments and stuff like that in the wrestling club. So my son's looking up to him every day, and that's a standard that he's seen as well. Because the older kid, Connor, he's like doing really good, and he's like a really good example of a martial artist or a wrestler. So my wee boy's seen that every day, and it's a good role that he wants to fulfill himself later on in the future.
So there's a kind of resurgence of gang culture in Glasgow and the surrounding areas. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's due to the growth of social media, and is this a suitable alternative to kind of prevent that?
Well, I can explain it. When I was younger, there was a lot of gang culture. Unfortunately, I was stabbed a few times outside in the street, so I'm really aware of that. And then, funnily enough, I think when social media came out then, it kind of stopped a lot of the gang culture at that point, because people started to recognise that this person from this other area isn't really that bad, and they're like us. But the way you're saying that there is, I think that can fuel the problems in a gang culture. For instance, you can say things online and people take it the wrong way and stuff like that. Now, in here, we're based basically east end of Glasgow. There's kids that come from all different areas here. Maybe, for instance, there's different gangs in all these areas, but they're all communicating together. They're all friends together, and they might understand, you guys are actually all right, they're my friends. I'm not going to go and spend the next weekend fighting with them outside in the street. I'm going to be seeing them in the gym on Monday, you know?
Aye, and it's especially a way that you can avoid conflict as well, as that it's a kind of one-size-fits-all here. It's free, so there's no stereotypes. Everybody's coming and they're getting the same experience. Do you think that's important for young kids?
That's the basis of what this charity is. Not that I've got a problem with gyms that charge money, because I understand the necessity to make money. Do you know what I mean? It's a skill that you're teaching, but unfortunately, not all kids can access that. So if a kid's, for I say this example, if a kid's mum is on benefits and she got 3 children, and a gym is like £80, that's £240 that she has to pay. Then she has to pay for gloves, t-shirts, whatever it is. Now in here it's free, and I don't want to only have parents that are on benefits bring their kids here. It can be any parent, and it's free for everybody, and that takes away the financial barrier for a lot of them, and it also makes everybody equal. You know, I've got kids that have came in from all the parts of Glasgow. There's a few kids that came from immigrant families and stuff like that. There's homeschooled kids here, and there's kids that go to normal school and stuff like that, and they're all just a team. So I'm kind of aiming to have equality in all areas here.
That camaraderie is so important, and as well, it's not just the mental health, like the mental maturity, it's the physical maturity as well. Like you said, they're developing and growing as a person. And do you think there's a sort of stigma around people from disadvantaged areas that if they pick up a martial arts compared to somebody that's maybe from a more affluent area?
In what sense?
In the sense of, like, it's the sort of end goal of why they're doing it gets maybe took out as context, or
And they could
gets
go
a
and do
different meaning
something-
attached to
They
it.
could go and
Get
do
what I
something
mean?
wrong. I don't believe that. I mean, if you've got if you don't understand boxing or martial arts, for instance, you're going to have all the problems in your head of what it can be. If you really want to know about it, come to a gym and speak to a coach. Come and see a session between the kids. Come speak to the kids after it, and you'll understand that that's not really what it's about. Now, if I'm teaching a kid to go and take someone down and choke them and stuff like that, I also say to them as well, I've got a pre-warning, like, don't be doing this outside, don't be doing this in school, don't be doing this with your friends, only do it on the mats, only do it in a competition. And I have to, like, really be strict with that, you know?
Aye.
For instance, after the session, all the kids will jump on each other and play, and I'm kind of saying, guys, the session's finished, like, don't do that. So I'm giving them that discipline, the discipline of you're learning a skill, and it's a very strong skill. You can do good with it, you can do bad with it, but it's only for the mats, it's only for competition.
Does the relationship that you have with your fighters as a coach help you grow as a person?
100%. I've got a few fighters so this gym is only for kids 5 to 17 years old. But I've got a few fighters a little bit older than that. I've got a boy from Afghanistan who's the next big thing, right? And I've got more passion seeing him win than I do winning myself. So because he's experienced, I'm taking him all over the country, and he's like competing well. But I know these kids are going to be doing that soon, so he's my benchmark for this. Because I've only been opened in here for 2 months, but I've got kids at 4 years old that I know in a few years they can go down to England and do junior MMA tournaments. They don't really have that in Scotland yet, but maybe we can do the first show up here. But in England, you've got kids 4, 5, 6, 7. They've got boxing, they've got MMA stuff on, they've got shin pads on. They're actually competing. You know, I think that's fantastic. That's something that really I want to dig myself into. You know, so I don't want the kids just learning. I want the kids to be learning so that they can eventually compete.
There's not a lot of infrastructure, like you said, in Scotland for kind of junior martial arts, as maybe a comparison to like boxing or maybe kickboxing or something. How for somebody your experience, how would you smash through that class ceiling to get it into Scotland? What's your goals?
So my goals with the competition wise is I know every promoter in England through my experience and stuff like that, and there's a few shows like Manchester and Liverpool. There's a big kind of hub for it. And junior MMA is fantastic, so it's like everything can be done: the wrestling, the jiu-jitsu, the kicking, the punching, but they do not punch to the head. So there's less chance that the kids getting concussed and like, all that kind of stuff, which I'm really into. So all the kids here have got a grappling base, they'll learn that, and then they'll learn the striking, but only below the chin. That's really important because, like, I boxed when I was younger. To be fair, I started at 13, 14, but I know some kids that started a bit younger than me, maybe started at 6, 7, 8, and I can see that when they're like 20, 22, 23, their brains have maybe took a wee bit of a beating. So the martial arts that I'm trying to push them towards, the junior martial arts that they can't get hit to the head, that's a safer alternative. And parents don't need to be worried about any kind of cognitive problems. So I'm going to take the kids down to England, get them competing, and as I said, I'm going to try and do the first junior martial arts show up here under the Fortified banner.
Well, that's I was really unexpected. So there's a more suitable alternative to hone in the discipline, but it's a safer, like I said, alternative to getting obviously brain trauma and that sort of stuff. When did that sort of awareness come in the martial arts space? Has it always been there, or do you think it's more increasing?
Yeah, so I do box still, right? I'm a bare knuckle fighter, so I need to go to a boxing gym. I think the culture in boxing is old, and I love boxing. My father was a boxer, my grandfather was a boxer. But there is a danger in like young kids getting hit in the head, right? There's a big danger of it, and we need to be aware of that. Now, when I started doing MMA, the sparring is when you actually train and you try and fight without actually competing in gym. There's less impact and it's a little bit easier pace, and you're not really going for the kill compared to boxing. And I like that better. I like that a lot better. You don't need to spar hard or go hard to be a better fighter. And the martial arts, the junior martial arts that I'm speaking about, they just do no head contact. So the biggest worry is that there's going to be a cognitive problem. There's going to be like impairment to my child if they get hit in the head. You know what I mean? So I just none of the kids in here hit above the chin.
Do you want to talk us a wee bit through about your personal fighting journey? You, like you said, started boxing from a young age. Do you want to just talk to us about how you're still doing it now? What's your driving factor?
Aye, so I started at 4. I done karate, then Jeet Kune Do, and then because my dad was a boxer, I took up boxing at 13, 14, had a good amateur career, and then I stopped boxing and got into trouble. And when I was in prison, I was in a young youth offenders institute, and after that, I got invited to go and do MMA, and from that, I just had a great career. I was like well ranked and I fought in the top shows and stuff like that. But as I said, without fighting, I kind of lost my way. I like that thing. So I noticed that when I've got fighting in my life, I'm on a straight path, you know. So I'm 39 years old, so I'm not a young guy, and I'm fighting, and then I'm fighting in the highest promotion in my sport just now, and I'm doing good at it. And as I said, I've got a lot more years left. Not a lot, sorry, I've got maybe 2 or 3 more years left, but I've got a lot of energy and drive for it, and I'm going to do that as long as I can.
Does that discipline that you've installed into yourself, that fortified nature, help you stepping into the bare knuckle sport?
Yes.
Because I can't even imagine the sort of headspace you need to get yourself into to step into that. It's the most formal, primal sort of violence in the world. What's mental capacity do you need to have to step in that sort of?
I would totally I disagree with that. It's like the calmest, most peaceful thing ever is when I'm in this like ring or a cage and you're fighting against another man, and it's all respect, and you respect him, you respect his training, his ability, he respects you, your training, your ability. There's a referee in the middle in case anything goes wrong, and it is a primal thing. It's such a pure thing to do, but it's beautiful. It's like peaceful to me because it's like what I feel that men should be doing more. You know what I mean? And I know I'm getting to do it, and I'm so grateful for the fact I'm getting to do it because, to be honest with you, I'm an old guy. I shouldn't really be doing it at my age, but I'm still fit enough and strong enough and able to compete. So I'm just grateful for the fact that I'm able to do it, to be honest with you.
Would it be fair to say you're a big advocate for men being their best version of themselves? Does the bare knuckle scene in your career taking off, does that allow you to be the best version of yourself?
It allows me to fulfil something. It allows me to be fit, healthy. It allows me to do something that's purposeful. But more so than all those things, it gives me a voice. So really and truly, I want other men to be fortified, or these kids to be fortified. So if I'm on a platform like BKFC, I'm allowed to speak about that, and people can hear me speaking about that, rather than just be a guy sitting in my cupboard, my room, posting videos and talking about it. I've no credibility. So it gives me a bit of credibility for what I'm really planning to do in the future. And what I'm really planning to do in the future is to have more of these all through the UK, make them bigger. Like, it's not just a gym as well. Like, there's alternative education, homeschool that happens in here during the day that I'm going to get excited about and try and build on. There's a movie director, a BAFTA award-winning movie director that's doing acting classes in here, and he's going to have some of the kids acting in some of these films. And the whole thing about that is it's all free. It's all charity-led. The government hasn't paid money. Like nobody's. We've had to go to like corporate investment, which has been really difficult, you know. But there's other people, like the people that sponsored AMS. They see the vision, they see the importance of it, and they're willing to back it. And then other companies as well. Hopefully, they get involved, and we can continue to keep it running.
Why do you think there hasn't been any government backing? Have you reached out to the sort of legal bodies for?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as if they've not done it. It's just we've not had much interest from anybody, to be honest with you. Maybe it's not enough people know about it. But I don't know. Like, I think people need to see the vision of what we're doing. So people need to see that we're helping kids. It's a free space for them, whereas like, there's a financial barrier for a lot of these parents that can't do this, right? So that's one of the most important things. We don't judge like how much money you make. Everybody's equal, and I think that's really important as well, because then we're getting kids that are maybe the have-nots and they're mixing with the haves, and there's no difference, there's no differentiation. Every kid in here's got the same t-shirt on, they've got the same boxing gloves on, they speak the same, they do the same. There's no financial barrier, there's no like you come from an affluent area, right? Cool. You've got that ability to do martial arts, which has really been the case over the last few years in my experience. But now it's not. Now everybody can do it.
How did, what do you think AMS, your sponsor, seen in you in the Fortified programme to really back you all the way?
Well, AMS is an English company, but it's run by Scottish men. And the guy Gary Reardon, who's my good friend now, he's seen my message. He's seen my message. He's seen my message before this was even an idea, and he helped my fights as well. So he sponsored me in my fights, and then getting to talk to him and getting to use his organisation, how they could build this into something else, and even continuing. Like I spoke to him today about how we're going to grow it and grow it and grow it and grow it. He's got the same. He's on the same wavelength as me. So I love being Scottish. I love being Scottish. I love being from Glasgow, but there is problems in this city that people do not take heed of. I myself, I'm anti-drink. I'm anti-drugs. I see the negative impact that can have on people, and I don't just mean like somebody having one pint and being happy and merry and leaving. That is not really always the case. Do you know what I'm saying? I think the culture of drinking too much alcohol and taking too much drugs here is a massive, massive impairment for this place. So on those two things that I'm talking about there, he understands that. He agrees with me. And I want as much people to be healthy, happy, fit, fortified as possible. And if we can do it with the kids initially, but then they hopefully, God willing, grow up to be adults that'll be fortified. And that whole thing is going to spread arms and legs throughout my culture. And this is going to make my city a better place to live in. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, definitely. And like you said, there's so many external opportunities that manifest themselves through the Fortified Future programme. Is that something that maybe was a wee bit unexpected, but you take a lot of pride in?
I'm not proud. I'm not proud of anything. But I'm pleased with my efforts. I'm pleased with my efforts. I'm not a proud man, but I'm pleased with my efforts. So my whole thing is that I thought about this a few years ago, and I would love to be like an older man, and I get an adult come up to me and say, Brian, I was in one of your gyms and you really changed my life. So that wee thing there is what I'm game for. See, like, if I can just impact a few kids' lives, that's what I'm really wanting. Trophies and that are great. Like, going and win tournaments are fantastic. But see if I could have somebody come to me like this place helped me. My mum didn't have money, my dad didn't, whatever it is, and we had a space here. Like that for me is really, that's the most beneficial thing of this. You know.
Aye. And would you consider yourself a role model in these kids' lives?
I mean, I've done a lot of good in my life. I've done a lot of bad in my life, and you need to see what I'm trying to do now. You know. I think I'm a good role model now, of course, but I have went down the path of not living to my purpose, and that's one thing that I know I can teach kids about or teach adults about, because there is a lot of temptations in life, right? And if you're not aware of your temptations, or you're not aware of what can happen round about you, if you're not disciplined in that, you can go down that wrong path. And I'm aiming to help as much people with that as possible, right? So I drink too much alcohol and taking too much drugs are just two things, but there's a lot of other things on that. But if I can help as many people as possible with that, I'm doing something. So a role model is a bit of a strong word on it. Just an influence in some way, then I'm happy, man.
How would you go about realigning yourself if, how would someone go about realigning themselves if they lost the drive for whatever their calling factor is, their reason for being, their purpose?
How would they do it? There's multiple ways. I found God.
Right.
I found God. I don't necessarily mean going for a religion and I don't really believe in that. But find your reason for being here. God's just a word for the universe. But you can say God in whatever way you want. But I found God, and I found there's more of a reason that I need to be here. I'm not a mad religious nut. I don't talk about this to the veins. It's not really, this is my personal thing, right? But I believe if you've got a love for the fact that you've been created, then you'll live in accordance to that. Do you know what I'm saying? Right. I don't think as many people think about that as much. But also, I don't want to preach to anybody. That's my own opinion.
Like you said, the drink and drug culture is so normalised now. Do you think it's too far gone to revert from that, or do you think there's a way that society can heal from it? It's an epidemic.
It is, and I think more people need to admit it's an epidemic. So if I speak a lot on social media about this, and I get people just constantly arguing back with me on my comments and stuff like that. Oh, I drink and that, it's not that bad and that kind of stuff. And then, whatever. No, I'm not talking about the guy that can casually take a few pints and okay, that's life, you know what I mean? But I know a lot of people that can't do that. I know a lot of people whose lives have been destroyed, their health's been destroyed, their mentality's been destroyed. They've maybe took their own lives. I know a lot of people have took their own lives with it. They've separated their families, they've done a mistake, and then their families are grown up and they're not together, and their kids are without a secure home. But taking heed of that, like actually be aware of that, do you know what I mean? Now, this is my way of doing it, this is my way of helping, like having another vehicle rather than. So, on a Friday night, I've got like 20, 25 kids in here, and they're all teenagers. I've got younger kids, but the older kids is one I'm kind of talking about here. If they're burning their energies out on a Friday night, they're not going to want to go out and take drinking drugs at night time with their friends. They're going to be going home for a shower, going to their bed. That's just one thing I can impact that way. And then I say to them, like, you're going to be doing a tournament soon, so they might go, oh, I need to live the straight path because I can't really be drinking and taking drugs if I'm going to be fighting this tournament soon. Do you know what I mean? It's just a wee small vehicle that can maybe make a healthier, happier, purposeful area.
And like you said, your end goals are to get, not end goals, one of your goals is to get it all spread out through the UK. Would you say that there's a lot of resemblance in sort of negative cultures that Glasgow has to other kind of maybe, I don't want to say disadvantaged cities, but there's a lot of disadvantaged areas in these sort of cities, these sort of central belt cities?
Aye, and I don't just mean Scotland, I mean all through the UK. The people in EMS, they're actually thinking about opening some in Ukraine because they do work in Ukraine. So aye, that's the whole thing. Like, this is just a wee unit, right? It's just a wee unit with boxing bags and whatever. But I've got plans that I'm going to put in every major city in the UK, and there's going to be coaches that align with the Fortified principles. There's going to be like grading systems for all the kids. There's going to be the alternative education as well. Homeschooling thing that I was talking about there. So these parents have come in and they've asked for a space to teach their kids, and maybe that's a thing as well that I've not really delved into, but that could be thought about more. Like, you're not surrounded by too many other people that are already deeply entrenched in that culture that you're not like party, drinking drugs and stuff like that. Because I remember like taking drugs in school. Do you know what I mean? People take drugs in school. Do you know what I mean? Small weed in school or whatever. So there's like so much potential in it, and I want this thing anyway to be every city in the UK. That's my goal. Have coaches aligned with what we're doing, and I want as many people that like this message to help out and fulfil like, their charitable sense of pride. Because I was never into charity. I didn't really know charity all my life, and then the last few years I started to like, maybe from a religious perspective to understand the importance of charity. So you give to charity, it's such a massive blessing for you. Do you know what I mean? And that's why this is a gym that's only for kids. I don't bring adults in here and do adult classes on the side. This is only for kids. It's always for kids. And people say to me, like, in a business aspect, well, you could make more money if you took adults in. And I was like, no, that's not the message, mate. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to help kids.
Oh, that's brilliant. Have you got any sort of opinions on curriculum for education? Like you said, there's sort of homeschooling. Do you want to just kind of touch on what lessons that kids could learn outside of the classroom in here?
You would probably be better speaking to the homeschooling communities in here about that. So I've got a son, he's 4, he's supposed to be starting school, but I think I've been kind of pulled aside here to try the homeschooling for him. One of my daughters as well, she kind of struggled a little bit with school recently, so there's an alternative there. I don't know enough about it. I can only deal with the people that come in here. But one thing I've seen is, so one of the coaches in here, he's got 4 kids. 2 of his kids are old enough to do the training. And you've got this kind of conception about homeschooling kids that they're not sociable. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't go to school, normal school and stuff like that. The 2 most sociable kids in here, like confident, intelligent, like really good, and that's what kind of gave me the spark for that there. So that's why I said, like, if you want to do the sessions, you can bring them in here. So that's going to need to grow a wee bit before I've got a perspective on it. But it's really interesting.
Do you think that there's maybe some kids that feel marginalised in the sort of schools because there's, like you said, there's people put so much price on what status means? when they come in here and they're equal, do you think that getting rid of that ego, and do you think that will infect the other aspects of their life, that they can become a better person as a whole?
Aye, so you're supposed to say gang culture. There you go. You join a gang in school usually, don't you? So your peer pressure into that because you're from a certain area. That's a thing that I don't really, I wouldn't really like for my own kids. You know what I mean? I'm really against that. If I've ever seen any of my kids, hopefully they never do it, but I'd be saying to them that you're not ever doing that. So that's a peer pressure thing you're going to get from the culture of being a school community or whatever. And then also like, not that I'm bashing school, I don't really do too well at it, but if there's like 30 odd kids in a class and they're all in accordance to one way, but there's 2 or 3 kids that kind of stand out a little bit, well, they need to act in accordance with the 30 other kids. And it's a one size fits all system. So what I've learned from the homeschooling kind of stuff is that these kids don't get that. They get to focus on what they're good at. You know what I mean? Because if there's 30 odd kids in a class, they're not all going to do the same thing. They're not going to be the same way. You have to learn the different ways. It's the same with martial arts. I've got some kids in here with ADHD and autism and stuff like that. And I don't, like, I understand there's maybe a bit of speciality care that you have to have. Do you know what I mean? I don't just like force them to do the things that they don't want to do. If they want to sit out, they want to talk, I'm there to do it with them. I'm emotionally aware enough to deal with that. Now, I don't want to get right into how bad school is and that, but I remember in the 90s in school, like, some kids had some maybe problems and they just get forced to sit outside. I was one of the kids as well, forced to sit outside because you were disruptive. I'm not really a fan of that, you know.
And do you think that with these kids that have their additional needs, and do you think that when they do get acceptance into these sort of spaces, that helps them? Obviously, they've got their challenges and they kind of struggle to embed themselves. Do you think that that's a lesson that they can learn with learning their own boundaries? If they feel uncomfortable, then it's okay to kind of step away, and that sort of validation that you provide, do you think that's important for them?
Yeah, everybody's special, man. Everybody's special. Everybody's got their own uniqueness to the world. And if I see somebody that's got a uniqueness to the world, but maybe they struggle in a certain aspect, I'm going to go and push that, and I'm going to help them with that, and I'm going to be there for them with that. I'm not just going to get annoyed. But they're not acting like these 10 other kids. I'm going to get annoyed. No, man, I'm going to sit and spend a bit of time with you, let the other kids do what they're doing. And that's me as a martial arts coach. But I'm so aware of that. I know I'm so aware that some kids are different. You know what I mean? So it's a hard job, and it takes emotional intelligence. But I'm a father of 3 kids as well, and my 3 kids are different from each other. So I do understand that as an adult, you know.
Do you think a lot of young kids, they kind of need to dilute their personalities down because if they're scared of not being allowed to kind of be in the sort of spaces, social spaces? But if you install that it's cool to let your personality shine, then that will help them in their later life.
100%, man. 100%. There you go. Me as a parent of 3 kids, that's a really good way of saying it's been from a parental aspect. My 3 kids are very different, and I need to like hone what they're good at in the house. And it's the same as in here, and I imagine it's the same as in school. Now, like society as a whole, you're kind of forced to fit into some certain corner of society to feel accepted. I don't fit into any form of society. I'm not going to lie. I'm myself, and I'm happy with me myself, and I don't aim for people to like me. You know what I mean? I like to do what I do, and I'm unique in what I am. And I see that. I'm empathetic enough to see that in every individual in the world. But when I see people getting lost and grouping themselves in another like area, I don't like that. I think that's kind of limiting them. So if you think about kids in school, maybe a kid doesn't want to spend 8 hours, 2 hours doing history, 2 hours doing French, whatever. Maybe they just want to do creativity. That should maybe be forced. They should maybe be focused and doing what they're good at, you know?
Aye, definitely.
This is me challenging the school system. I've not really got a problem with, but I do. And maybe these problems as well maybe turn to it later on in life. So, for instance, if you're in school and you're struggling for the 8 hours a day, and it's like traumatic for you, maybe you go to a house and your house is chaotic and traumatic, then you've not got an avenue to like express yourself with them. Where you're going to lead to? You might lead to drink, you might lead to drugs, you might lead to doing all the negative things in life. Maybe that's a reason for that.
It's that sort of lack of opportunities, isn't it? Like you said, if there's no outlet for somebody, it's going to come out in any other way. It's like the kind of thing, if you repress your sort of sadness is going to come back out in rage. That can happen in the physical sense as well. And these sort of kids, and not kids, adults as well. See a lot with men. Men swallow their feelings and they don't maybe admit to they're struggling and they are broken, and they like to step in and become a stronger version of themselves. That's one of the hardest things to do, is admit that you've got not a problem, but you know what I mean, self-improvement.
There's pressure, like self-improvement, so there's pressure on men to like perform and be hard and be tough and like, you need to be strong. You need to be a strong man. Try not to be soft. But I appreciate your weaknesses as well.
Yeah.
Like with all the weaknesses. So if you've got a weakness, you might only be weak for like a few months, a few weeks, even a few years, but you will strengthen that. You know, there's so much pressure and you can't. Like, so I'm a coach for men, right? And a lot of the time it's just like men talking to me about their problems because they can't speak to their own like social circle because they might get judged. Can't speak to their wife about it, can't speak to their dad about it, whatever it is. And I always say to people, well, I'm the least judgmental person in the world. I'm never going to judge you for what you tell me. I'm just going to try and help you in any way I can. I think judgment's a bad thing on that. That's why the pressure's there. That's why people can't open up their problems. But I do say to this to everybody, that's why I say make men fight again. Because a fighting gym and a fighting competition, now these people who don't understand fighting might think it's barbaric and all that, but that forces men to face those challenges in such a great way. Do you know what I'm saying?
Aye.
It's not for everybody, but probably for more people than you'd expect. But they can get into that 12 weeks of training hard. Then they've got a fight, just a white collar fight, a charity fight, whatever it is. And they walk to that ring and they're going to fight so much insecurities of their life. They get in the ring, they compete, whether they win, lose or draw, they're going to have a feeling of something, they've achieved something. Now, I think men, we've got that warrior spirit in us, right? Especially Scotland, we've this warrior race about us. And it's been taken out of us. It's been taken out of us, you know what I mean? Like people want to go and be aggressive at football games, shouting. I don't think that's aggression. I don't think that's the warrior spirit. That's you negating the warrior spirit and you're putting it into a team and stuff like that. Like, I'm really not against. I'm really not with that. But if all these people wanted to really enact the warrior spirit, go to a gym, train, have a competition, have a fight, you would learn so much more about yourself than if you never done it.
100%. Just to finish, if you could sum up what your relationship could be and what your relationship is with fighting and martial arts, how could you possibly articulate that? It might not be possible, but if you could sum it up.
So my relationship with fighting, the physical action what fighting is, like, it's a sport and I've lived my life through it and I've competed in it and I teach it, right? That's what the base level is. But the lessons from fighting I apply to everything. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm challenging myself every day, or I'm keeping myself healthy, or I'm faithful that I'm going to do well, that applies to everything in life. That applies to the way that I do business. It applies to the way that I interact with people. It's taught me how to control my ego. It's taught me how to teach others. It's taught me how to be charitable. You know what I mean? That might not make sense to somebody that doesn't understand fighting, but for me, everything's fighting. Fighting's life to me.
That's spot on.
No worries.
Bang on.
Sounds good.
Thank you.